This is the Son of the Law podcast. Hey everybody, welcome. Welcome to the Son of the Law podcast. I'm your host, Jay Christopher, and joining me in the studio, otherwise known as my basement in my home, once again, is John Wier. Hey, John.
Hey.
So we're back again. This is, to work through the timeline here. It's been a week, and we're finishing a conversation we started related to your life and times last week. But as you know, you can't go through 20 monster questions in an hour or even 2 hours. And so we're going to break this out into 2 episodes. Here's part 2, and we'll jump right in. I want to, before we get back to our questions, I want to ask a couple things. You know, we've met you from a rapid fire perspective already, so I wanted to switch that up a little bit, and I will tell you 20 unspoken rules for men.
Okay.
And then you can agree, disagree, or feel free to opine on them.
Okay.
So we'll just run down through the list and you tell me what you think. Number 1, never shake a hand sitting down.
Correct. Yes.
He's like, yep.
Yeah.
All right.
If you want to impress somebody when they approach the table and you want to greet them, stand up.
Stand up.
Stand up.
Okay. Number 2, protect who is behind you and respect who is beside you.
Correct. Protect and defend.
All right. Number 3, never insult the cooking when you are the guest.
Correct again. Especially if you're on the mission field. And when you taste it, it's like, I wonder what this is.
This is not good.
Another one I can think of, we were leaving Lebanon, and the night before is like you go around and visit all the people that you work directly with or were a part of. And every house we went to had food.
Yeah.
And it was always chicken and rice. That is the ultimate there. Like we love steaks here in the U.S., they love chicken and rice.
Chicken and rice.
So we go into these houses, and the first thing that we do is the plates would be set, and there would be this great big, and I'm talking about huge, the 2 foot by 3 foot platter of chicken and rice.
Just a pile.
In every house. So you go to 10 houses, and after the second one, you learn to say, no, thank you, but they still put food on your plate.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, but you have to be gracious and eat a little bit everywhere you go.
Did they all taste the same?
All the same.
They all tasted exactly the same, or they have different spices or anything?
Well, a few bit, a little bit more salt or whatever, but
pretty plain.
Chicken and rice. Yeah.
That's awesome.
And I remember getting back to the hotel and my wife saying, did we have enough chicken and rice?
All right, number 4, never eat the last piece of something you didn't buy.
I would say that's probably good advice.
It is. Yeah. I was reflecting on this. We do a lot of potlucks and stuff where we go, and I like to be near the end. So, and I'm trying to instill that in my kids because I don't know. I kind of look sometimes to those people who blow right out front, and they just pile their plate with a bunch of stuff, you know what I mean, without any care or consideration to those who were coming behind, and this seemed to kind of fall in line with that. Never make the first offer in a negotiation.
I tend to agree with that.
Okay.
Always make the best offer that, and probably more than you want, because you're not going to get it, but you'll get what you want eventually.
Okay.
Or close to.
Don't take credit for work that you didn't do.
Oh, 10-4.
He's like, yep.
You bet. Yeah. Praise your people. People used to say to me, you have such great workers, and I did.
Mm-hmm.
They one of my big deals especially for my clerks and my carriers. Of course, my carriers knew, like, they would know all your family because they deliver your mail.
Sure.
Lola and
Yeah.
all of them. And but my clerks, I'd say, remember what they mail. And the next time they're in is, did Joey get his package at college?
Yeah.
Or did Josh get his package in Korea that you mailed? Whatever. And those will build relationships. And I just watched those ladies just grow in their relationship with the community.
Sure.
Because, the people would come back in and they would say, hey, how's Billy doing in Korea?
Yeah.
Or whatever,
Yeah. Or if they're like us in the Bollinger household, they're getting letter after letter from colleges.
Correct.
Trying to say, come here, spend your money at this institution.
Sure.
Don't blame and give credit when due.
Correct. Don't blame other people, especially when you're the leader. If there's a problem, even if you didn't make that mistake, or if that person did something well, it's not about me. It's about my workers, the people who work.
Yeah.
They work for the community. They don't just work for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you are not invited, don't ask to go.
Correct.
And this is just 8 of 20. All right, we'll go through a few more. I think these are funny, and I think
they are.
Some of them are dead right, and others are like, oh, I could probably. Next one, always aim for the head.
Well, in the case of deer hunting, no.
That's my point. Yeah. Yeah, I think I like the principle of what they're trying to say. Like, if you're going to kill something, kill it, and that means, if there's something in your life that needs to go, kill it. If there's something that you're trying to eradicate from a problem or whatnot, do whatever you can. Cut the head off the snake.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't beg for a relationship.
Relationships happen.
Yep.
It's not that you can't pursue one. I wasn't looking for a relationship with you when I started coming to men's group.
That's weird.
Just looking to just be with men, and different than some of the other people I'm with.
Yep.
Because it was a different reason, because we were talking about spiritual things and trying to get deeper into the word.
Sure.
But ended up decided to get up at 5 instead of 5:30 and come in earlier and pursue a relationship with you because of where you were in your life and where I was in my life. And I thought we could help each other. And we did.
And it's been very fruitful.
Yeah.
Dress well no matter what the occasion.
Oh, yeah. Always be the best dressed person in the room if you can.
Okay. I was looking at this a little differently because I was thinking dress appropriately for the occasion. That's how I would rephrase that. Because if I'm outside working, I don't need to look good, but I do need to make sure that I'm wearing the right clothes for the right job. And my wife is hearing this and she's going, you dog, I've changed more oil in clothes I shouldn't have changed than I should have.
Yeah,
so
and ruined a shirt.
I've ruined a shirt.
Or pants.
Yep. Number 12, always carry cash.
Yeah, I always have some cash on me.
That's harder to do these days, though, with credit and debit cards and the convenience of these things.
I tried, to take some cash with me all the time, but I may have that cash for weeks.
Yeah.
Yep. Carry $40 around in your pocket. But there's always been that occasion where, have you ever been to a garage sale?
Oh, yeah.
And you can't use a credit or a debit there.
Yeah. It's like
And it's like, I know how much money I have in my pocket. Let's start here, and I'll work my way up. And I know I can't go over this because I haven't.
That's all I got.
That's all I got.
Yep.
Yeah.
Listen, nod, and most of all, make eye contact.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes. Always look at who you're talking to.
It's just good feedback. And, we talk about kids on devices and stuff like that. I'm seeing that as a trend. And maybe I'm getting crotchety as I get older, but there are kids who they spend their entire life looking at their phones, and when it comes time to actually shake a person's hand and whatnot, they won't look you in the eye. It's unnerving.
Yeah, we taught our kids to do that.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's a job.
It's a job. It's like, let me show you how to introduce yourself to someone, even if you don't know them. Just walk up to a stranger in church and say, "Hey, I'm John. How are you today? I appreciate you being here."
Yeah. Which is uncomfortable for introverts, and it's uncomfortable for other people.
Yeah, but you can tell an introvert from a person who's outgoing, because that person's going to stick their hand out if they're outgoing and say,
Stand
"Hey,
up,
I'm
shake
Bill. This is my wife, and these are my 10 kids."
Yeah.
and we're just looking for a church, and it's like,
there you go.
That's how I met the Jacobsons from our church.
Yeah.
They were looking for a church, and they came in, and we happened to be at the door and took them to a class, and of course they're not introverts because they can't be, being a missionary. You have to be outgoing, I think, anyway.
Yep.
And so we were good friends with them, and still are today.
That's awesome. Show restraint in expressing anger, no matter what. Being angry is a waste of energy. We covered that in the last show.
We did, yeah. Don't be offended, even if you're still somewhat aggravated at the person.
Yeah.
Don't show it.
Yeah. Whether it's dinner, drinks, or both, avoid placing your phone on the dinner table.
I would say don't bring your phone to the dinner table with you.
Yeah, don't even bring it. Yeah.
Yeah. Either that or put it on silence and put it in your pocket.
Yep.
If it starts buzzing and you know you have to take a call, leave the table.
Yep. Number 16, never pose with alcohol.
I don't drink anymore.
Right.
So it's not.
Yeah.
Never pose, never take a picture.
Yeah. That's there's an image there that you're trying to say, right? That you just don't want that in the picture.
Yeah.
Proper grammar will get you far in life. Leave the foul language for the less educated.
Yeah, I've learned that over time.
Yeah.
Kids are kids. They'll pick up whoever they hang out with. But by the time they hit high school, probably, maybe the middle school, they're beginning to ditch those friends that use foul language, because it doesn't suit them. It's like, why do you talk like that? What's the point?
Ask more than you answer.
Sure. Ask questions. It'll get you into a great relationship with people.
You can tell a great deal about a person by their handshake. So make your strong and firm.
Yes, sir.
Yeah?
Yes, sir.
So
be careful with women. Don't squeeze their hands too hard.
Yep.
My wife's got arthritic hands, and occasionally people will shake her hands and we'll be walking away or getting down the hallway, and she says, "Ooh, that really hurt."
Got me. I just hug her, so it's
she likes to be hugged.
We'll take that out of the equation.
And I think that's probably why she likes to be hugged all the time.
Oh man, so good. Love a Becky hug. Speak honestly, say what you mean, and mean what you say.
Yeah.
Anything you want to add to this list?
Speaking honestly, I think you have to, if you don't understand, ask questions.
Yeah.
Say, "I don't quite understand this.
Yeah.
Can you explain your viewpoint on that?
Yeah.
And why should I be concerned about that?"
Yeah.
I think I've learned that mostly through school,
mm-hmm.
through being on the board, asking the hard questions, and getting good answers.
Sure.
And sometimes they're good, and sometimes it's, I want to know more, but you don't want to embarrass administration in front of other administrations. So you go to that person and sit down and have that conversation of, "You said this, and I know you explained it, but explain it better to me. I just want a little deeper thought about that."
Yeah. What did you mean by that when you said it? Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'd add a couple. I'd say there's some study material that we've been working through with the boys, and just been a principled approach to, raising young men. And those principles are rejecting passivity, right? I need to be a person of action. I need to not sit back and let something happen. I need to take the action to the situation. Accept responsibility. If I'm around, I'm going to be responsible for my environment, for the people I'm around, anything that is going on around me. I need to have some burden of responsibility associated with that, and then lead courageously. Like, you need to be an example, be willing to step forward in leadership for the sake of that greater good that you're around. Like I said, this is a great list. You could add many more to
Yeah.
it. So
Yeah.
anyway, I thought that was significant. Let's go back to the second 10 questions and jump right back into where we were last week. And we'll just start you with a heavy hitter here. Who did you look up to and why? And then have you been that person for someone else?
I hope so. Being the person for someone else, because you really don't know who you're affecting. It's like grandchildren. They repeat back to you something you said 2 years ago. I can remember when you said this, Grandpa, and
Right.
it affected me. So you don't know exactly who you're affecting.
Right.
People I've looked up to. There's many that have affected my life over the years. Probably Colonel Laurie. I worked for him in Alaska.
Okay.
Christian man. Pretty blunt about what he does. He cared about the crew that flew on his plane tremendously, because he knew the risk when we took off from the island where we were. Immediately you had to be up in the air, and in 20 minutes you had to refuel because you had so much equipment on board.
Yeah.
And you couldn't fool around, because those last 4 minutes were the last opportunity to get those wheels back on the ground and keep people safe.
Yeah.
He was a good man. He taught me a lot. The next person down the line, of course, my mother. My dad was kind of absent, passive man. Not that I degrade him for that, but you have to understand he was in World War II. He saw a lot of death. He was a medic. Next person down the line would probably be J.R. Duncan, was my pastor, same age as my wife.
Yeah.
We're in our 20s in a small church of maybe 50 or 80 on a Sunday morning, teaching Sunday school, doing worship, doing all those things. He's a guy that required me to go to my dad, who was an alcoholic, and apologize for my part of being... I love my dad dearly, but I just wasn't involved in his life.
Yeah.
And he's, again, preached a sermon on being respectful of your parents. And, of course, he came over for lunch again, could smell the food from 3 miles away. And he just looked at me across the table and he said, "I need to say something to you." I knew I was in trouble then. Not trouble, but it was going to be heavy.
Coming. Here we go.
And he said, "I've heard you talk about your dad." And he said, "I know you love him." But he said, "Have you ever apologized for your part in his being passive about really showing love to him?" And I said, "I don't know what you mean." And we talked for a while, and I finally got what he was meaning. He says, "Here's what I expect you to do." And that was his exact words, is to find a time when you can talk to your father and apologize to him.
Wow.
And he said, and I'll be asking you if you did that or not.
Yeah.
Looking me right in the eyes. And like I said, we were both in our 20s. So it was like, okay, I think you're right. I don't know how I'm going to do this. And the next weekend, my wife and I went home, because we went home about every 2 or 3 weeks, because we did love our parents. And they were older, and they needed to see our grandkids. And our grandkids needed to be around them. And I did. And 2 weeks later, almost to the day, at our house in Creighton, Missouri, I don't know, I was either coming home for lunch or going to work or something. And my wife stopped me and said, "You know something? Since you've done that, you've changed.
Right.
It's changed our lives, because you've made it right with your dad and you respected him." And
kind of an intangible.
Yeah. So that, it kind of, you see the moment and then it goes over your head.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, okay. And then down the road, you begin to realize that it did change your life. You have a different outlook. You love your dad more. And from that moment on, he began to change.
Right.
He was a TV guy, and we would come in, and he'd be on watching football, switching channels,
Yeah.
and it's commercial here, so I can watch the Broncos and the Chiefs play over here, or whatever. Paid a little attention to the kids, but time probably took 3 years. He would actually get up, turn the TV off, and come and hug the kids when we come in the house. He would actually leave the TV, walk all the way to the car, and hug every kid and tell them they love him. I love you. Grandpa loves you.
Wow.
Which was totally out of character
Yeah.
for him, because he was pretty much all about himself.
Yeah. Yeah. That's legacy stuff, man. That's awesome.
Legacy stuff, yeah.
So then, the second half of that was, how have you been that person for someone else? My, I guess, follow-up there would be, do you intentionally try to invest in a mentor-like role with people? Do you find that most people are willing to accept that, that offer, even if it's not verbal? You just kind of show up in some people's lives, and
I think so.
some people probably accept it and desire it, and others are like, what's this guy doing?
Yeah, some people don't get it.
Yeah.
Because they haven't been where I'm at, or maybe I don't present it well. I don't know.
Yeah.
But, I talk about legacy all the time to our men at the church.
You do.
If you invite me to speak, you're going to get somewhere in there. I'm going to tell you, you're investing in a legacy.
Yeah.
A legacy of people that not only give to their community, but bring people into the kingdom of God.
Yep.
Through their actions, maybe through their speech or their teaching, whatever that is. And they know it. The people that you influence know it. I've got several men friends that we're not super close. We don't go do things together or anything, that come up to me and say, I appreciated what you said a week ago to me. I went home and did that, and man, my wife just responded immediately.
Imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mentorship, and I think it can be applied more to children, but when you really invest in a relationship that transcends yourself, when you influence another person's life, talk about children, or arrows in the hand of an archer, right? They're that guy's blessed if his quiver's full, but they're also the arrows that a parent fires into the future that they will never see, right? You're sending that arrow downrange to 30 years, 50 years, 100 years of principles-based decisions related to the mentoring role that you've taken in the lives of those around you, or the kids that you've influenced.
You're correct.
Very cool.
Yeah. You're in the same boat. You're influencing kids that come to your house, whether you know that or not. They're looking at you, and they're going home and comparing you to their parents.
That's scary. Jesse Gillum, whom we've had on the show,
Yeah.
he talks about a poster that was posted in the men's room that says, something to the effect of, God help me to be the man that my son thinks I am.
Yeah. I know exactly that poster, and I know exactly what bathroom it's in.
Yeah.
I've seen that a few times, and I'm thinking, I hope I am that man that, because your kids know you from back when you started with them.
Right.
And they see the different person you are today.
Yep.
And I'm seeing that with my kids.
Yeah.
We lived a dangerous life. Our kids did. They were jumping bicycles and motorcycles, and my youngest son was jumping motorcycles over trucks and stuff at my house when he got injured once. And so I was impressed with all of my kids. They finally got rid of the motorcycles when they started having kids.
Yeah.
Because they realized the injuries they could sustain and how that would affect their life.
Oh yeah. It's for real.
Yeah. you've had Chris on. He had a brand new CR 250 all aluminum frame racer, and he bought it home to our house out in the country. You know where we live, and I took it across my pasture, and the thing would stand up in third gear. You could start off and just give it the
Just
gas.
roll on it.
And just ride it all. I rode it all the way across the pasture, up in the air, turned around, rode it back, got off, never got on a bike again. I have not been on a motorcycle since that time. So that's been a while back.
Yeah.
But he'd just gotten married.
Yeah.
And it wasn't very long and the motorcycle disappeared.
Yep. That happened with me too. I had a 2011 Yamaha V-Star 750, and I bought it after I'd read a book, and I was like, within about a year of reading this book, I had climbed a mountain, bought a motorcycle, did a bunch of stuff. You know, it was just all about that. But then when you reflect on the cost of what would actually happen if something bad were to happen, I was like, yeah, the bike has to go.
Yeah. Yeah. Now I have a wife. Now I have a Mariana in my hands.
Yeah.
I've got some responsibilities here. It's like, I don't know how you felt the first time you held your child, your first child especially. It's like, what do I do with this?
Yeah.
You know, I don't know how to be a dad.
No, there's no instruction manual either.
Yeah. And what you do is, I wish I had have a strong mentor that I could sit down with and say, okay, what do you do when the kid's crying all night?
Yeah.
And that era for me was men work, women take care of kids.
Interesting.
With my first child.
Very traditional.
Yeah. And I changed my mind as we had more children.
Yeah. There's a place for the man.
Well, my wife grew up thinking
role.
Women take care of children and men take care of work.
Sure.
That's what we were taught. That's World War II guys coming back home.
Yep.
I want to have a family. You take care of the kids. I'm going to work. And they kind of blended them. But I have a mentality now of for instance, we had a friend over yesterday from the D.C. area. Her husband works at the Pentagon. And my wife was thanking me last night for doing the dishes. And I said, well, I did all the dishes from dinner for this reason, because you needed to sit and visit with this young lady.
Yeah.
And talk to her. She needed that.
Yeah.
So
there's more purpose in that.
Am I going to leave the dishes? Just sit there? No, I did the dishes and went out and played with the kids.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So that they could have that time to mentor that young lady. And my daughter was there too. And I think she also appreciates her mom. Sometimes I think she gets aggravated because she's a pretty hard driver.
They all do.
If you know Amanda at all, she's a hard driver.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are some small things that still bring you joy and or make you smile?
Oh, watching kids.
Really?
Just love watching kids. I can remember Pal at 4-year-old hanging onto my leg, and I'm walking down the hallway at church, and he's hanging onto my leg. So his buddy decides to get on the other leg.
Yep.
And of course, I'm a real young man then, and I just let him hang on, kept walking.
Yep.
And they hung right on all the way back to the room. You know, kids are wonderful, and they're so honest.
Yeah.
You know. I've told parents before, give me 2 hours with your kids at my house, and I'll know what goes on at your house.
Oh, that's kind of a savage comment, John.
It is.
Hot take.
Your kids will tell everything because what's not to tell?
Yeah.
This is the way we live.
Yep.
You know, no matter if it's arguments or you get along fine or my dad's funny or whatever.
Yep. You just get a real fast download.
You're gonna get a fast download of what it's like.
Who needs Chat GPT when you've got a 6-year-old running around? That's awesome.
Yeah, how's things at your daughter's house? Ask your kids.
Yeah,
they'll tell you. They'll tell you the truth, and I won't mention any of those things right
now. What are some of the biggest changes you've seen in the world in your lifetime?
This thing right here.
What do you got in your hand?
This is a cell phone.
Oh boy. You know, there's more computing power on that cell phone than there was in the first spaceship that went to the moon. If you believe that we went to the moon.
I know, and I still don't know how to use everything that's on there. And you open it up at 7 a.m. in the morning or 5 a.m. in the morning. This morning I was looking over what you'd sent me, and I'm just thinking, you know, wow, there's so much. The first thing it said is, like, would you like to know how to do whatever it was? Because I never pay too much attention. I can teach you right now. So you could hit on that and would show you how to move pictures or whatever.
Yeah.
Open documents, save documents. And it's like, do I really need to know all that? Now, I know you do because you work in the real world where everything's computer. You're sitting in front of one right now.
It's all electronic.
All electronic, you know. And it's, I can remember when I first came here, I had a ledger. I kept all the finances on that ledger.
Wow.
And then from there, we went to what we call the floppy disk drive computer, which was a pain because it was always going down.
Sure.
And then we went to IBM computers, which were better. And I remember a district manager, he's deceased now. I asked the question in a meeting about why aren't we going after partial post? UPS is taking all of our business, and we could be, and letters are going away. And he assured me that the letters would never go away. And in my mind, I sat down and closed my mouth because I knew that it was a losing question.
Yep.
And in my mind, I was thinking, but you never send me a letter anymore. You send me emails.
Yeah, it's email.
On my computer now.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we talk back and forth, so there's no communication that we're doing. And do you think I had what was the first computers that I can remember? Commodore 64, maybe?
Yeah, we had one.
I think that's what we had too, you know, and how that was affecting my kids. Not that there was no internet then as far, but we had this little computer.
Be a few games. That's all they want to do.
Well, you could type a letter and print it out on the little Rolodex thing that had the papers you had to rip off on the side, you know, and then you could send your Christmas letter that way, and then you take it somewhere. Didn't have a copy machine at home, but you could go to the library or something, you know, put the quarter in or nickel or whatever, and you could get a few copies made at Walmart. Walmart had a
copy machine.
Copy machine. You could walk up and say, "Hey, I need 10 copies," and it cost you $1 or something.
Yep.
Yeah. So
that's crazy. Yeah, the photo center used to do that too, and they're slowly but surely just getting smaller and smaller.
Smaller and smaller.
Everything can be done online, or a lot of people don't even have the pictures anymore. It's
Shutterfly.
all on their phone. It's all on their phone.
Yeah. Well, my phone's telling me this morning, your photos are 86% full. You better be thinking about buying more cloud. And I'm thinking, I don't need any more cloud, man.
That's right. All right. Yeah. Did you ever put peanuts in your Dr. Pepper?
In my Coke, I did.
Did you?
Yeah.
Why do people do that? I've done it one time and it's delicious, but like,
it's delicious.
What happened? Why did that go away?
Well, we don't have bottled Cokes anymore.
All right. Can you
put them in your can?
I don't know.
I don't know. I'm not going to try it. It seems a little gross, but yeah, I can remember we had in our community what we called the pool hall, and they had 3 snooker tables and 3 billiard tables.
Yeah. Okay.
And they were professional. They had 4-inch slates on them, and we'd go in there, and you could buy a 16-ounce Coke at that time, and you drink down a little bit, and then you pour a bag of peanuts in them, and you drink the Coke. And you had to drink it down far enough. You had to learn how to do that, because the first one I did, I poured them in there, and of course the salt
fizzled up out,
fizzled up out on the floor, and that makes you look really bad,
rookie,
with a bunch of men. And so the next one, you know, I drank down a little farther, and it came up almost to the top. So I decided, well, I can drink it down right to that line.
Right there.
I know it now. So I won't look like an idiot with all these other boys around.
That's awesome. And then the next time somebody else blows it in front of you,
like, what are you doing,
just
man?
ride it.
Come on. There's a towel in the back room.
That's right. Oh, that's awesome. What impresses you or it gives you hope about the younger generation today?
The time they get to their mid-20s, they're beginning to grow up, especially if they're starting to have kids.
Okay.
It's just a mental change.
Yeah. You just see it happen.
I was in the Air Force when my wife came out of work. There's a whole story behind that too, and we've talked about that. And we were trying to get pregnant. We're trying to start a family. And she got in the car and smiled at me, and she said, "The results came back today from the pregnancy. I'm pregnant." And it's like I just remember laying my head on the steering wheel and thinking, "My gosh, I'm going to have a child."
Yeah. That's a sobering thought, isn't
It
it?
is a sobering thought.
Mhm.
We've got this third person in the family now. And of course, with my dad being a bit passive, really passive actually, I didn't have a lot of training in that. I did have two brothers that were older than me, but they weren't at home.
Yeah.
They were at home from 3 to 6. But I remember very little about them because they were older,
Yeah.
running with their group and getting ready to move out. And doing all those things.
Yeah. We talked about that a little bit last week. I failed to mention my mother's situation was very similar to that. She, youngest child, there was a, double-digit gap between her and her next oldest sister.
Mm-hmm.
And some ways you kind of raised alone in that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which it wasn't bad because I
Mhm.
really wasn't raised alone. I had
all the other things we talked through,
Well,
your
yeah.
neighbors and
the neighbor kids. There were 6 neighbor kids. And so I still had, they weren't siblings, but man, when you went to their house, you knew that you were under the authority of that family.
Mm-hmm.
And if Dad said do something or we're going to go do something,
we're all doing it.
Yeah, we're putting up hay.
Come
on,
on.
John. So you're going to get an 80-pound bale and you weigh 100.
Yeah, come on, little John.
Yeah, and if we had to get 2 people on a bale to get them on the wagon, that's what we did.
Yeah.
But it was fun.
Yeah.
It was always an adventure every day.
Yeah. How about concerns for the future? Is there anything about today's world or culture that concerns you for those coming after you?
There'll always be men that step up and meet the challenge. There was in World War II. My dad didn't have to go. He was going to be drafted. And they told him that, you can still step away. He had a son that was 7 and a son that was 4, I guess.
Yep.
It would have been 4. And he chose to go. And he was only in for about 10 months.
Long enough.
But in that time, he got wounded before he even got overseas. That's when they threw real grenades into 55-gallon barrels buried in the ground. And those barrels had rusted down, and one came through and broke through the top of the barrel or whatever. And a piece of shrapnel went through his knee.
Oh, boy.
And, of course, then they didn't know how to replace knees.
Yeah,
but
so that was it.
Yeah, well, he managed to finish basic with that injury, and they were going to send him home. And he said, absolutely not. There's a war to fight. I have 2 sons at home that, I feel like this country has to win this war.
Yeah, living with purpose.
So he went over and he was a part of a medical unit, did surgeries on guys coming in off the field. It's kind of like a MASH unit.
Yeah.
What we've seen. And he lived that and took that when a lot of guys stayed home.
Yeah.
Because they're farming or whatever exemption they could get. But he chose to serve his country. And that set a purpose in my life to, I didn't know I would be in the military. The military was kind of a place to go because I was still lost in what's my purpose in life.
Sure.
So
family there.
Yeah. And you have a family instantly. Yeah. You've got 80 guys you're going through basic with and their family.
Yep.
And you help each one of them try to get through basic. Some of them can't do it.
Yeah.
Just can't.
At some point I want to talk to somebody about what life is like as a new recruit And my understanding of the way they try to build that culture is they just tear you down. And, that's why everybody gets the same haircut. That's why everybody, is kind of they break you down from your life before you get there. And then in that 6 weeks or 8 weeks that basic is, they basically make you feel like crap and then help you build bonds with those men right next to you and then build you up to, to become the lethal fighting machine that they want you to be.
Yeah. Yeah. And the Air Force did that for me. But I was already there. I didn't realize it till I got there. My dad gave me some pointers not to get myself in trouble the first few hours that you arrive at 3:00 in the morning. And for instance, sir, yes, sir.
Yeah.
Was the proper response to anybody that was in authority over you.
You mean we're not saying bruh?
No.
To
No.
don't wear
don't wear earrings or long hair, which nobody from my community did.
Yeah.
I mean, that would have been, somebody would say, "What's your problem, man? You got earrings on."
Yeah.
Which, if you want to wear earrings, that's fine. But there were some guys from Chicago and New York, all over the country, San Francisco, that had earrings on and were told to take them off. And the few that said, "I don't see why I should take them off," they were taken off for them.
Welcome to basic.
Welcome to basic camp. You will have a torn ear for a while.
Yeah,
we'll stitch that back up for you in the morning.
Yeah. We talked with Michael Stevenson a little bit about hard times make strong men.
It does.
Strong men make good times. Good times make weak men. Weak men make hard times, and hard times make strong men. So that's what I'm hearing in your comment, right? About men being able and willing to step up for that next call. And I'm encouraged that you're encouraged by that.
Well, you'll find, if we would pray to God we don't get caught up in another war, you will see brave men from communities just like this say, "I have an obligation here. I want to fill it." And then you'll see the cowards run to Canada or Mexico or wherever, or hide where they don't have to go.
Interesting.
And we saw that in World War II.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hide behind some political reason that they're giving. "Oh, you have a big farm. We need the food. You can stay there."
Yeah.
Or
warfare is changing so dramatically, though, isn't it? I mean, it used to be all that hand-to-hand stuff, and then the tank and different weapons. Now it's drones and chemicals and health.
I have a lot of friends that are younger, way younger than me. In fact, one of them I sit by on the school board, Marine.
Mm-hmm.
You still need those guys.
Oh yeah, you do.
And I always loved them in the Air Force. There's several times that the Marines have protected me. A National Security Agency, there's always Marines at the door. And I always bought them donuts every Friday. I'd stop by and bring those guys 24 donuts or a dozen donuts, whatever was available, and give them to them. And we formed a bond. Those guys knew me.
Yeah.
But if they told me to stand on my head in the corner and it was an order,
do it.
I would do it.
Yeah.
I would do it. I kept telling my people, if there's ever a fire drill, and Marines don't fool. They're given direct orders. They're 17, 18 years old. They're carrying an M16 or an M whatever.
Yeah.
And they're carrying a sidearm there besides. If there's a fire drill and they tell you to stand against the wall, stand against the wall. I had a young lady. She was she was older than me, probably 10 years. She's probably 33. Had a little chip on her shoulder about the military. And I said, "Well, just remember, if there's a fire drill in the agency and the Marines say, stand over there, they mean that."
Yeah.
And she got cold-clocked in the hallway because she wouldn't obey an order.
Oh.
And she was complaining to me about it the next day. And I said, "What did I tell you?
Yeah.
These guys, they don't know if it's a fire drill or not. They have no idea.
Right.
They just do it. It may be something different. We don't know if it's a fire drill because they get the orders through their little mic things. And when they tell you to stand aside, they mean stand aside. But understand this. If it is some kind of somebody trying to break into the building or shoot somebody or something, they're going to defend you to the death.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's what they're called to do. So we will always have that. There will always be those guys that are out there defending us with their lives. And I appreciate that totally.
That's awesome. Go a little different direction here. If you could speak directly to your grandchildren or younger people in general, what would you want them to know? And I'll give you creative license here to go any direction that you want. I had asked for some feedback from our listeners on social media around what questions would you want to ask a well-known member of the Lawson community. And this is one of the questions that I got. It's a bit open-ended, but it really speaks to the regret, if you think back when we talked about this initially, and the growth that comes with that. The lessons you've learned, the simplicity with which you have the ability to now decipher rules from principles and whatnot. You think through what a kid needs to hear, a grandchild needs to hear, a very young person can learn from you, and you got just a few minutes to share with them, what would you say?
Well, first, I think I'd want them to know Jesus.
All right.
Because there's a principle there. There is a creator who created everything. I know most of my grandchildren, maybe not everyone, we've been out in nature somewhere, and I'll just pull a leaf off a tree and say, where'd it come from?
You probably get the ground
or the tree, or a limb.
Yeah.
And I try to get them to look behind the scene, see how it got there.
Yeah.
Where'd it come from? And to understand that there is a creator and he wants the best for you. In fact, he loves you so much, he sent his only begotten son. And you'll find that word begotten left out of a lot of translations now.
Okay.
And it's sad that they do. Of course, I've learned that verse from a very young age. And begotten means the exact duplicate. So if he's God's son, he's the exact duplicate of God. What you saw in that man when he was here was a God man. He could see your heart. He could create things out of nothingness. If you read the word, I try to teach them that the word is always true.
Yeah.
No matter how harsh it sounds, no matter how funny it sounds, there's always a principle behind it that God's trying to teach you.
Yeah.
And when he said, let there be light, and there was, how can you not worship the person of God behind that, and be under his authority to forgive and to love and to grow and subdue the earth and to raise children, to have one wife.
Yeah, I'm hearing you say this, John, and I agree completely, although I'm thinking back to the 3-year-old that you're showing the leaf to and then telling them all this stuff, and they'll be like, gosh, Grandpa, I just thought it was a leaf.
Yeah. Yeah. You don't quite start. I tried to take you from being a 3-year-old recognizing life for the first time to being 76 and seeing a whole life of it dawns on you that the word says this.
Yeah.
Or you hear it from another man like you that says something.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh yeah, the word says, and that's true.
Yeah.
It's true. I tell my 28-year-old grandson, who's a shark fisherman in Florida, coastal worldwide, the Bible's true. Every word is true. Whether you like it or believe it or not, I've lived longer than you have. Believe what the Bible says. If you run into something that you don't understand, that you need answers to, it's there.
Yeah.
And if you can't find it, call me.
Yep.
If I can't find it, we'll call somebody else. But develop those habits of understanding that when life gets hard, The Word has the answers for you. And
Yeah.
that's where it's at. Other men will tell you everything's, it's no big deal. Maybe it is.
Yeah.
Maybe it is a big deal.
Yeah.
I can remember telling my grandson, his first business partner was a 16-year-old. And I remember when he told me that, I said, now he's, what, at that time,
16.
he's 22 maybe.
Yeah.
And I said, well, I don't know that I would be a business partner with a 16-year-old, but that's up to you. And he lived to not regret it because he learned so many valuable lessons from it. And I saw him walk through that, just like I've walked through stupid things I've done in my life. And to hear him say, it'll be okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I want my grandchildren to know Jesus. The rest of it will come. The rest of the world is
Yeah, that's
here.
the ultimate principle, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the ultimate principle.
Mm-hmm. Okay, you've already answered it, but I'll ask it to see if you have anything else that you want to say. I have a question here on your legacy. What kind of legacy do you hope to leave behind, either in your family or your community? And again, I'll remind our folks, the behaviors I've observed in you. You're investing in our community through the school board. You're investing in our community by virtue of staying here and choosing a local job within the community that you love and the people that you enjoy serving, when you could have maybe gone to another place and made more money. The choice to live in this area for the sake of your family. So when you talk about your legacy and you talk about your faith and you talk about these other decisions that are clearly observable by those around you, what do you want your legacy to be?
I want people to be able to say he loved the Lord and he lived it. And I know I've failed at that.
Certainly.
Yeah, and I think we all have. But that would be my legacy.
That's it.
I love this community. I love the people. Have I had words with somebody who lived here? Yeah. But it doesn't mean I didn't care about them.
Right.
Or wish them well.
Right.
Yeah. That's what I want. I want my family especially to realize the legacy that I'm trying to instill in them is not something that you can just brush off. And I know my grandchildren have heard it enough. They probably get, Grandpa's talking about legacy again. But eventually, those words will come back to them. I know that because they did to me. I've told you about where I really learned about it. Dennis Rainey at a meeting in Little Rock, Arkansas, Family Life Today. We were there for a complete other reason. I wasn't even in on this conversation. It was like a group of 6, 8 men. I don't remember exactly. And I was just standing next to them. And this man, Dennis Rainey, who was the CEO of Family Life Today, started talking about legacy and that how eventually he was going to step away.
Wow.
For his family.
Yeah.
Eventually. And he did probably 10 years later. And he was talking about legacy. And I just remember something inside of me said, I want that. I want that. Because he was talking about his children and his grandchildren and his grandchildren bringing millions of people to the kingdom of God. And being able to be there after the fact, being dead and being risen again, just like on Easter Sunday, when Jesus rose from the dead, and being in heaven with the Father and somebody walking up to me, your great, 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 great grandchild told me about Jesus Christ. And that's why I'm here today.
Wow.
Because you took the legacy and you grew it into your kids. And they grew it into their kids. And their kids grew it into their kids.
Kind of the ultimate responsibility of what you do with that information.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. And to give it to your grandkids and being able to reinforce it day after day after day when they're there. Oh, yeah, this is great, but what about this story in the Bible or whatever? You start asking questions. That's the ultimate legacy is they're there, you're there. eventually when this life is gone, just a speck. And we have a new heaven, a new earth,
Yeah.
everything. Yeah.
What's something you're still learning, dreaming about, or praying for, even now?
Uh, Gosh, I pray for this community a lot. Seems like I drive through town, I see something that maybe I don't agree with, and just simple prayer of, Lord, I don't understand why we're letting this go on, but can you do something about it?
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't live per se in Lawson,
Right.
but I do see things that I think we could project a better image of ourselves just by following the rules we already have in place.
Sure.
Man, I've seen this school district come from the best it could be at the time to something that is amazing. We're the top 10 class 4 school district in the state of Missouri. We're number 46 of all the 532 school districts in the whole state. Yeah,
Those are incredible statistics.
they are. And you've got Michael Stevens is an incredible leader. We've had incredible leaders. Roger Smith,
Yeah.
Craig Barker, Steve Sellers, Bob Gill.
These are all former superintendents.
All former superintendents, and they were here long term.
Yep.
Because they loved what was going on here,
Mm-hmm.
what they were seeing. I can remember when we just out by me, it's called the Nike base.
Yep.
That's where my
What is a Nike base so that people don't think it's about shoes?
okay. The Nike base was a 1960 brainchild of the Defense Department that we would shoot down ICBMs from wherever.
What is an ICBM?
ICBM is Intercontinental Ballistic Missile with a nuclear warhead on it.
Right.
It can carry, ICBMs can carry conventional warheads,
Yep.
but
So you put
they're long range. They go into outer space. They come back in.
Right.
And
so you put these Nike bases all over the country?
Yeah.
Why?
We had them all over the country. Well, it was the whole premise was we were going to shoot down these nuclear warheads with nuclear warheads, which didn't really make a lot of sense because you still get the fallout from.
Yeah. This the Cold War?
Yeah, Cold War at the time.
Yep.
And I
heard that one of the reasons they put the Nike bases in was because in wartime, the thought of bombing a unarmed population was out of color, out of favor, right?
Yeah,
and
yeah.
It's so funny that would maybe was the reason that they did it after some of the effects of World War II. Like, literally we're just 20 years behind what happened in World War II, and we're thinking, oh, somebody's probably going to take a different strategy now. So I don't know. It just didn't seem to make much sense to me.
Well, it didn't. After I was, of course, in the Air Force, and it's like, why did we even have these things? It's stupid to set off a nuclear bomb, to set down a missile that's going to go do the same thing, and we'll have the fallout from it. It didn't make sense to me. But there is still, and I don't know if it's still there. There isn't 2 Nike bases around DC to protect them, and it's like, yeah, I'm not sure that's a good idea with the technology we have now. And they may not be there. I don't know. I'm out of that. Have been for years. So, other than I have 3 nephews that are all bird colonels in the military, and one of them does the same thing I was doing.
Yeah.
Of course, he's using much more sophisticated things.
Certainly,
than I did. So we have good conversations, him and I.
So as we close here, I want to kind of start. I want to end where we started and talk through just the experience you've had through this process, and encourage folks to identify those people in their lives who have lived differently, longer, and more colorful experiences than some of the things that they've maybe lived personally, and ask you, And I'm not fishing for a compliment, but because I think it's important to hear you say it, what I think you'll say, I'm going to ask the question anyway. Has this been a burden for you to talk about your life?
No,
I mean,
especially with you. We've shared. You've shared with me about how you grew up and what drives you, and I've shared with you the
yeah.
experiences that I've had over the years. So by sharing those, we've both grown.
Mm-hmm. Would you expect the person who is inspired today to go out and who goes out and talks to a grandpa, a mentor, somebody um, to think that the person that they ask some of these questions of would decline to answer or would be put out by talking about these things?
If they're put out, probably you don't want to talk to them.
Right.
Yeah. It's
Okay.
just pretty simple. If my dad didn't talk a lot about World War II until I was probably in my 40s,
Mm-hmm.
because he didn't think that it was appropriate to drop unseemingly ugly things on my life at a young age.
Right.
For me here in this community, and I know a lot of people that out there that are listening to this won't know him, but John Barbie
Mm-hmm.
was a builder here in town, World War II guy in the Pacific, hit the beach in Omaha Beach. Man, a great man, mentor of mine, built my house. In fact, put me in it because he wanted me living there.
Yeah.
I don't know how to explain that to you. I've explained it to you before. Words don't mean it. The man just looked at me when he was available to sell, because he was going to sell to somebody else, and they made a terrible remark about the military.
Ooh.
And that was a mistake.
You blew it.
Yeah, oh my goodness. And with him especially.
Yeah.
Because he was true blue, Marine guy, and he put him in his truck and said, never come back. And then called me up, and I told him, I said, man, I can't really afford a $90,000 house, which is unheard of now.
Yeah.
And he said, man, I want you in this house. I love your family. I love your kids. I love your wife. And he just met him a few times. So he put us in the house. He made it work for us.
Yeah.
And another guy was Charlie Lebo. Him and Ellen were inspirational to me. Charlie was a hard-nosed guy. A lot of people didn't like him at all, but I learned from him some of the things he went through in World War II, being shot at by snipers, living on a boat or ship, I guess I should say. He was there for Able and Baker, both atomic bombs, the test, and then told that, you may never have kids because of it, because they didn't know about what radiation would do to people and all of that. And coming back here and having to learn to live again because of not being shot at, but waking up at night, cold sweats.
Yeah.
You learn a lot about people. I will say this. Even though you think you know someone, you don't really until you sit down and start getting into those deep conversations about what was it like.
Yeah.
And they start telling you the best of the best or the worst of the worst.
Yeah.
And then they reflect on it now and how's it affected your life.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been good for you.
Yeah. Well, and then too, to help inspire and promote the confidence that somebody might need to go ask the person these questions.
Sure. Yeah, I would.
Go boldly, right? Ask about the details. Put yourself in their shoes when they're talking, and ask how they were feeling when this happened, when that happened. I mean, there's a lot to be learned here.
A whole lot. And if there's, like I said, I don't think there's any World War II vets left in this town. I think they're all gone.
Yeah, I'm not aware of any.
Joel Roberts, I don't know if you knew him. Jenny Roberts' grandpa.
Okay.
Spent a lot of the war in prison camp.
That's not, it's Jenny Phipps now, right?
Jenny Phipps,
Okay.
yeah. And then you had, again, Roy Cheek,
Yep.
who shot down twice behind enemy lines, made his way out. Within the week, he was back in a bomber, being a tail gunner or a turret gunner, which is not a safe place to be at all. You get shot at, flaked at, everything else. Making it back in a few times just because one engine was running, and, just glad to be back on the ground.
Yeah, it's incredible.
But can you imagine being behind enemy lines, getting back out, being smuggled back out of the country, out of Switzerland to England, debriefed,
only to go back in.
Only to go back in. I think he flew 32 missions. I had several conversations with Roy over the years.
Yeah, that's insane.
It's insane.
Mm-hmm.
And then to come back and reintegrate yourself into the community and learn to trust people again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. We'll leave it there. I want to give you one final opportunity. Anything you'd like to say, communicate, share with us before we let everybody go?
Not really. I think we've talked about a lot of stuff in life. It's been a pleasure to be here. Not only just because of the broadcast, but because of who you are.
Thank you.
And what you mean in the community.
Thank
people look up to you. And a lot of people listen to your podcast. I've listened to everyone except the one with Michael.
Yeah.
I will go do that because I need to know about what he had to say.
Yeah. Well, Lord, help me be the man that they think I am.
Isn't that the truth? I think we all know that.
Yep.
People say good things about us, and it's like, is that really me?
Yeah.
I hope I can keep that up, or
Yeah. Yeah.
But we do. We fail. I've had people call me about school things, and I said, you're just going to have to trust me for a while.
Yeah.
Trust me. The things that you want, that you're asking for, are going to happen.
They're working. But
you have to trust that they're going to happen. And they do. And I've had several people come back and say, you were right, Mr. Wier. That's exactly what happened. I appreciate it. And it wasn't because of me. It was because of our teachers or our staff or whatever, Yeah.
Yeah. Well, once again, John, thank you for coming. Really do appreciate you. Appreciate your time today. And for folks in the listening audience, this has been the Son of the Law podcast. Hope you have a great day.